It was around 6 in the morning when I heard a loud knock at my door. Half asleep, I went downstairs, opened it, and was shocked to find 2 police officers standing there. They looked serious, almost hesitant. One of them asked if I was Daniel Miller, and when I said yes, he lowered his voice and told me that my wife, Sarah, had been found dead an hour ago in a car crash on the highway. My world spun. I felt like the ground had slipped away from under me. But then I remembered, Sarah was upstairs, fast asleep in our bed. Confused and panicked, I told the officers they were mistaken. I led them upstairs to show them. Sarah was lying there peacefully, still asleep. The rise and fall of her chest proof that she was alive. The officers looked stunned, whispering to each other, exchanging glances that made me even more uneasy. They excused themselves and stepped outside to make some calls. I stood there frozen, staring at my wife, wondering what nightmare I had just stepped into. A few minutes later, they came back in and explained that the woman they found had no identification, but she looked exactly like my wife. Same hair color, same height, even similar clothes. The only difference was a scar on her right hand, a scar Sarah didn't have. It felt impossible, like some cruel trick or a twisted coincidence. Sarah, now awake, joined us in the living room, shocked to hear what had happened. The officers asked Sarah to come with them to confirm the identity of the woman. Reluctantly, we drove to the morgue. When they pulled back the sheet, my blood ran cold. The woman on the table looked exactly like Sarah, down to her facial features, her eyes, her lips. If I hadn't just left my wife at home, I would have sworn it was her lying there. Sarah gasped and clutched my arm, trembling. It was like looking into a mirror. The police began asking questions neither of us could answer. Did Sarah have a twin? Was she adopted? Sarah shook her head. She had grown up with her parents, no secrets, no missing siblings. But the resemblance was undeniable. The officers explained that the car she was found in had no plates, and the woman carried no phone, wallet, or bag. It was as if she didn't exist. 4 days, I couldn't sleep. I kept looking at my wife and then remembering that lifeless body at the morgue. Sarah was terrified, too. She said it felt like someone had stolen her identity. She began checking the locks twice, jumping at every sound, as if she feared someone was coming for her. I tried to calm her down, but deep inside, I was just as scared. Then one night, things got worse. I woke up around 2 a.m. and saw Sarah standing by the window, staring out into the darkness. I asked what she was doing, but she didn't answer. When I walked closer, I realized her eyes looked vacant, almost like she wasn't really there. She whispered, "She's still out there." My heart nearly stopped. I shook her, and she suddenly blinked back to herself, confused, claiming she didn't remember saying anything. The next day, I started digging through Sarah's old family documents, desperate to find some explanation. That's when I found an old hospital record tucked away inside a folder. It mentioned something about Baby B. My wife's birth certificate only had her name, but this document hinted she might have been one of twins, a truth her parents had never told her. We confronted her mother, who broke down in tears. She admitted that Sarah had a twin sister who was given away at birth. The family had been struggling financially, and her father had pressured her mother to give one child up for adoption in secret. Sarah's mother thought it was for the best, and she swore she had never heard from the other child again. Hearing this shattered Sarah. She had gone her entire life not knowing a part of her was out there, and now that missing piece had come back to her in the most horrifying way, dead in a car crash. The police confirmed through DNA that the woman was indeed Sarah's twin. Everything matched. It explained the resemblance, but it didn't explain why her twin had been living under a false identity with no traceable past. Weeks passed, and the investigation revealed disturbing details. Her twin had been involved in shady activities, using Sarah's name at times. There were reports of her impersonating Sarah in different towns, even taking out small loans under her name. It was as if she had been living in Sarah's shadow, pretending to be her whenever convenient. Though the case was eventually closed, the experience left scars. Sarah struggled with nightmares, constantly feeling like her twin spirit was lingering around her. I often caught her looking into mirrors too long, as if questioning which reflection really belonged to her. I tried my best to keep her grounded, to remind her that she was alive, that she was real, and that she wasn't responsible for what her sister had done. But deep down, a part of me still wonders, that night when I saw Sarah staring out the window, whispering those haunting words, was it really my wife speaking? Or was it something else that had slipped through the cracks? When death came knocking at our door,